number of weeks ago, not even a number of months ago at Petco Park. This county, this city, is leading the way in the state of California in terms of doses administered, in terms of meeting not just the broad platitudes, or rather broad strokes on the issue of equity, but actually manifesting them by doing the hard work.
The City Heights location is at the Park de la Cruz Recreation Center. This week, the governor got his vaccine, the single-dose Johnson & Johnson shot. As KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, many more Californians can now get theirs.
It's been challenging to get these appointments, and so that's why we're making it really easy, especially for a community that where the digital divide exists. People don't have as much access to the internet if they have a computer at home.
In Barrio Logan, volunteers, including former San Diego City Councilman David Alvarez, are going door to door, telling residents in a community hard hit by the pandemic about a pop-up vaccination event this weekend that's targeting those in the 92113 zip code.
A lot of people have heard a lot of information, maybe misinformation, who qualifies, who doesn't qualify. Some people are like, well, I still don't qualify, even though they do. Family Health Centers of San Diego regularly does up to 800 vaccinations at its Logan Heights site, and it's partnering with American Medical Response to do even more there this Saturday.
So we're hoping to vaccinate up to 2,000 people, focusing on people living here in the 92113 zip code, so Barrio Logan, Logan Heights area.
Dr. Sandra Cervantes with Family Health Center says there has been some hesitancy to get vaccinated, and she's been fielding questions like if there were people of color in vaccination trials.
There has been a lot of racism in healthcare over the years, and so it's natural that there would be some skepticism.
Now all vaccination sites countywide are taking appointments for those 50 and over, no questions asked.
And then we're excited that in 2 weeks, we'll expand that even bigger.
That's when all Californians 16 and over become eligible. The governor says vaccination supplies will be increasing by then, and locally our supply has increased by 25% this week.
I wish it was 50% higher, but 25% higher is much better. That's the biggest jump we've seen.
Right now, officials aren't predicting an increase for the following week, but Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says that could always change.
We are encouraged, and we think we are headed in the right direction. If you remember at the beginning, we had big amounts, and then we had significant shortages. And so we had tremendous instability week to week in what we're getting. That seems to have stabilized, and we're generally headed in a flat or upward trajectory.
Just at the 30 or so county-sponsored sites, officials estimate they are currently delivering around 12,000 daily doses. That's not counting vaccinations for the military, veterans, or some other providers. Those in the 92113 zip code need an appointment for the vaccination event this Saturday and have to meet current eligibility requirements. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A reminder for those of you in North County or anyone who booked a vaccine appointment at the Mar Fairground Superstation, it will be closed this weekend. That's April 3rd and 4th. Scripps Health is running the site and says it simply did not have enough supply this week. Those with appointments will be automatically rescheduled by the state's MyTurn website. There are plenty of places to get the vaccine, but setting up an appointment is another story. Tanya Thorne tells us how San Diegans are helping each other with old-fashioned word of mouth and some teamwork online.
As more and more people become eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, the question on how to secure a vaccine appointment still stands. This has some people turning to social media. Lena Evans is the administrator of the San Diego Vaccine Hunters Facebook group.
It's heartwarming that the members are showing their true humanity and helping each other as a community, and every day we have posts in there that say thank you for this group. I couldn't have done it without you. I just joined yesterday and I already got my first vaccine.
The group has over 4,000 members on Facebook with hundreds of threads with tips, questions, and links, all aimed at helping land a spot for a vaccine.
I'm at Balboa Park, for instance, and not everybody showed up for their appointment, so get down here right away, or information like that, which is really dynamic. And the state just isn't able to provide that type of dynamic, immediate information.
Evans says she feels the group is like an informal partner to the county as they continue to do their part in supplying vaccine appointments. The county says it's continuing to add vaccination sites, but it's dependent on supply. Dr. Christian Ramers of Family Health Centers of San Diego is on the county's clinical vaccine advisory panel.
The supply certainly does help. What happened with this last phase in phase 1C with underlying conditions is a lot of the vaccination sites shifted into actual doctors' offices. So I think the message to the public really should be, talk to your own healthcare provider. Keep in mind there are other venues that you can get vaccinated if you're not able to get an immediate appointment.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
And making sure there are enough vaccines to go around is quite a process. Coming up, a look at special behind-the-scenes access granted by Pfizer, one of the companies with a vaccine on the market, to see what it takes to pump out hundreds of millions of shots for people around the world. This week also brought a couple of reminders that San Diego still has a way to go when it comes to bringing back some of its biggest events. Comic-Con says its scaled-down in-person convention won't happen until November 26th through the 28th. And that happens to be Thanksgiving weekend. They're calling it Comic-Con Special Edition. Last month, Comic-Con announced its usual event in July will be canceled for the second straight year. San Diego also hosts its annual Pride Festival in July, but that too is canceled this year. Organizers announced this week they are planning another virtual event due to concerns about the pandemic. Some limited in-person gatherings might also be on the schedule, but those details are still being worked out. Like Comic-Con, San Diego Pride is an event that usually draws people from around the world. One bright spot at Petco Park, where a small crowd is being allowed to watch Padres games in person. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer took in the fan experience on opening day.
Yeah, Padres! Number one, baby!
Being that some of the fans aren't going to be able to come in here, I feel good. I feel lucky. My seat's waiting for me. My seat's right there waiting for you. It has my name on it, and I earned it.
Yeah!
Today's home opener against the Arizona Diamondbacks only allowed for 8,400 fans because of COVID-19 restrictions. That's causing sky-high ticket prices, which have ranged from $200 to $2,000, with season ticket holders getting priority. But for Padres fans who can't get into the ballpark, like Glenn Favor, opening day celebrations extended beyond Petco.
We needed to be here. Even though we're not in the park, it's okay. We're still amongst the Padre fans, and we're still together, and it's not just a game to us anymore. It's a annual tradition for us, and we needed to be here.
For those who got seats inside Petco Park, rows have been blocked off and seats were grouped in pods, and fans didn't have to line up at concession stands, but ordered food and drink from an app. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And we'll find out next week if even more fans will be allowed into Petco Park soon. This week, LA and Orange counties moved into the orange tier, which allows businesses to further expand indoor service. San Diego County's COVID metrics remain low compared to the winter spike, but we are still in the red tier for now. The process might be sped up if the state continues to vaccinate more people in underserved zip codes. Electric scooters are returning to San Diego streets after many companies pulled the devices at the onset of the pandemic. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen looks at what changes could be on the horizon.
6 scooter-sharing companies are now authorized to operate in San Diego, and a few are brand new, hoping to capitalize on the city's gradual reopening. Colin Parent is executive director of the mobility advocacy group Circulate San Diego. He says the city's relatively lax regulations have made the scooter market hyper-competitive, leading to several companies coming and going.
And so I think one of the things that the city is going to have to examine is doing some sort of a request for proposal to have a limited number of scooters and have a more regulated market so that it's more functional and permanent.
Scooter sharing companies are mostly staging their devices around downtown, Hillcrest, and Pacific Beach. But advocates for low-income communities say they should benefit from the devices as well.
And they really provide communities like City Heights, Southeast, other communities like that, convenient access to everyday destinations. And so, but also that comes into safety. As well, like bikes, scooters should be in protected bike lanes, spaces where people feel comfortable.
The city council passed scooter regulations almost 2 years ago and plans on reevaluating their effectiveness later this year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
On Monday, San Diego Unified teachers begin a one-week prep period. They're getting ready to welcome kids back for limited in-person classes on the 12th. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong shows us how San Diego Unified and some of our other districts are moving forward.
Ashley Lewis is a parent of 2 students at Ocean Beach Elementary School. For the past year, she's been juggling childcare and her own work, but now she finally sees a light at the end of the tunnel. But she knows that doesn't mean things will be going back to normal anytime soon.
In the past, we would all gather together on the blacktop before school and listen to the morning announcements, and all the parents would have their coffee and we would chat. And it was this real center of our community. And now we won't have that.
That said, she's grateful that San Diego Unified School District is starting part-time in-person instruction on April 12th.
It's been more than a year, and I just can't wait for them to get back.
All San Diego Unified Schools will offer 3 hours of in-person instruction per day. Students will be on campus either 2 or 4 days each week. Elementary students will be able to stay on campus for another 2 hours each day to work independently. Middle and high schoolers can stay for 1 extra hour. Richard Barrera is the president of the San Diego Unified School Board.
Everybody will be wearing masks, and we've got all the masks, all the PPE. We've gone through and improved the ventilation in all of our classrooms, which is maybe the most important strategy, because we know that COVID is an air-based virus.
How many days per week students can be on campus will depend on the physical distancing rules and on the number of students who want to come back. Per the district's agreement with the teachers union, students will be required to sit 6 feet apart. This despite new guidance issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention last week that allows for 3 feet of distancing in elementary classrooms. As of now, the district is sticking to 6 feet. But it will drop the requirement to 5 feet in certain situations if it means 1 or 2 additional students can join the classroom. Keisha Borden is the president of the teachers union.
Our biggest concern is safety. And so if a large number of students in a classroom want to return, those students would then be split into 2 groups, and those students could come back 2 days a week. If there's low numbers and the entire class can fit safely in a classroom, then they could come back 4 days.
But Lewis, the Ocean Beach parent, says the district should renegotiate its agreement with the teachers union to allow 3 feet of distancing, especially if it means students can be on campus 4 days a week.
It's very frustrating to me that they can't reevaluate at this point and say, look, the CDC has said this is safe. Why can't we do 3 feet of spacing and let everybody come back who wants to come back for 4 days a week?
While the reopening timelines are different, the majority of school districts in the county have plans that are similar to those at San Diego Unified. Chula Vista Elementary School District, the state's largest K-6 district, is expecting about 60% of its students to come back for in-person instruction starting April 12th. Students will be split into morning and afternoon cohorts, and they'll stay on campus for 2.5 hours each day. Francisco Escobedo is the superintendent at the district.
I would believe that as the situation continues to improve, more parents would want to have their kids go in person, and we'll definitely try to be flexible as long as we have the capacity. We will definitely want the students in an in-person environment.
Escobedo said teachers will try to focus on physical and social activities in the classroom to make up for a year of excessive screen time. As for the next school year, which starts in July, he's hopeful that most students will be back on campus.
I think there might be some families that will still want a distance learning component, and we will definitely, if the demand is there, we will set that up for them. But I would love to have as a robust in-person approach to education as possible.
Joe Hong, KPBS News.
Like that story you just saw, KPBS News offers in-depth feature reporting unmatched in San Diego. All of it is posted to the KPBS YouTube page, and that includes our podcasts and full episodes of KPBS Evening Edition. We also have a KPBS investigation into the help people are getting to pay for basic items, like food. When it comes to the CalFresh program, also known as food stamps, Claire Tregesser found out many people are losing their benefits even if they are still eligible.
Pescado. Fish, well, salmon, which is at times very expensive.
Maria Gonzalez de Ochoa stands outside her El Cajon apartment and talks about what she likes to buy with her CalFresh food stamps.
El salmon. Salmon, fresh chicken, the green organic kind. We like the good stuff when it is available.
The 74-year-old house cleaner finally got on the program in 2019.
It took them a while to reply, but blessed be God, they did accept me. but I only lasted a mere 2 months.
Within a matter of months, her elation had turned to disappointment. Gonzalez de Ochoa was told her benefits had stopped because a report was missing. However, she says that's not right.
I called and asked them if they had received it, and they said yes. But towards the end of December, I called them, and they said that it had been suspended due to that paper.
Right now, under the CalFresh program, which distributes food stamps paid for by the federal government, an individual will receive $234 a month, a temporary increase due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But this money comes with a number of strings attached. Every 6 months, recipients have to provide written proof of any and all changes to their employment status, family size, and living arrangements. They also have to submit to an interview, either in person or on the phone. If any of these steps are missed, the money stops.
Households are 6 times more likely to leave the program in these months in which they have to jump through one of these paperwork hoops.
Matt Unrath, a research fellow at UC Berkeley's California Policy Lab, says the complicated process regularly drives out CalFresh recipients who are still eligible for the program. In San Diego County and across the state, between half and 3/4 of the recipients who left the program were still eligible for the benefits, according to the study.
We think that this has to do with understaffing and a lack of training.
Anahid Braki is CEO of the San Diego Hunger Coalition, a nonprofit that helps people apply for CalFresh. She says there needs to be more county funding for caseworkers and call center operators who help people get their benefits.
We will see whether it's been just a lack of funding that has contributed to that or not, now that we've got more political will to make these things happen. But what we're seeing is a little bit too much comfort with how much people suffer trying to go through the process.
San Diego County is doing what it can to help recipients, says Rick Wayne, the county's director for self-sufficiency programs.
We do send it to them by mail with instructions on how to complete it and where to send it back. We include an envelope with free postage on it. We also send all of our customers a text message reminder when their report is due. That message also has a link where the customer can actually complete it electronically.
But he says some people stop their benefits while they're still eligible because of, quote, individual choice. There have been some temporary changes to the program during COVID-19. For 6 months, no forms were required, and the interview requirement has been suspended, but will likely return in July. Also next year, households with only elderly or disabled individuals who have no earned income will not have to submit forms. But Unrath, the co-author of the Berkeley study, wants more. He says all recipients should only file paperwork once a year.
It's going to be cheaper for government because you don't actually have to administer these recertifications as frequently, and it saves households a lot of time and stress. And for the most part, that type of reform would more likely benefit a bunch of eligible households than allow ineligible households to remain enrolled.
But that would take an act of Congress. Claire Tregasser, KPBS News.
The demand on San Diego's food banks remains high, and that means organizations like Feeding San Diego are staying busy. Melissa May visited a recent distribution and has details on more to come in the days ahead.
Feeding San Diego has already helped more than 20,000 San Diegans. Volunteers were ready to help approximately 1,400 South Bay households with nutritious food during their contactless drive-through food distribution at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater.
It's very important. A lot of people are facing hunger for the first time due to the pandemic. So Feeding San Diego being here to help provide anything we can do to help support the community, that's what we're here for.
They're calling this the Together Tour. About 30 volunteers help to load up to 50 pounds of food per car. Sam Duke is the volunteer programs manager for Feeding San Diego.
So people will expect to see about 25 pounds of dry goods. We have 15 pounds of produce, and then they're also going to receive a frozen protein.
While Feeding San Diego volunteers are setting up for their large-scale distribution here in South Bay, people are already lining up 2 hours early to get their share.
Since my granddaughter and her 3 kids moved in with me, I'm here probably more for the children.
Jim didn't want us to use his last name, but he was grateful for the help.
To all the people that are volunteering their time and their resources, and to the food bank, thank you so much. It means the world to a lot of people out there.
The Together Tour's next distribution will be on Wednesday, April 7th at Pechanga Arena from 10 a.m. to noon. Melissa May, KPBS News.
And as we wrap up this newscast, we have a behind-the-scenes look at the vaccine production process. Pfizer is pushing out 13 million doses a month. Sanjay Gupta visited the company's production plant in Michigan.
1 year ago, the process you are watching didn't even exist. And for Mike McDermott, Pfizer's president of global supply, a novel virus meant he needed a novel approach to vaccine manufacturing.
This has been an amazing 12 months, like nothing I've ever experienced in my career.
Remember, until the end of last year, no vaccine using mRNA technology had ever been authorized. And now I'm getting an exclusive look here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at how Pfizer, in partnership with BioNTech, has produced millions of these vaccines.
60 million doses are surrounding us, hugging us right now. Imagine the impact that this room will have, just the doses sitting here today, on U.S. citizens and patients around the world. Now that gives you goosebumps.
While Pfizer has more than doubled its output from a month ago, now producing at least 13 million doses a week, it's still not enough for McDermott.
By the middle of this year, we're at 13 million doses. We'll be at 25 million doses in a couple months. So 100 million a month. 100 million a month.
And he's doing that by continuing to look for novel solutions, even seemingly simple ones. They found that their suppliers couldn't provide enough dry ice, so they decided to produce their own.
High-vis jackets so we can see each other, hard hat.
It also means that you are now seeing things that President Biden didn't see when he was here just 5 weeks ago in February.
This is our new formulation suite.
Here is part of how they scale up so fast. These prefab formulation suites, they're all built in Texas before being brought here.
If we built it wall by wall on site, it would have taken us a year. By doing it modularly, we could cut that in half. If you want to get on one side, I'll get on the other.
And yes, as I found, it really is as easy as pushing it into place.
Man, that's amazing. That is pretty smart.
But for McDermott, it really all came down to this key part of the process.
There's never been a commercial scale mRNA vaccine. So everything you see here is custom designed.
Remember, what makes up Pfizer's vaccine is basically mRNA housed in 4 different lipids, which is really just fat. And this tiny tool, called an impingement jet mixer, makes it possible. Now this is going to sound too simple, but here goes. On one side, mRNA is pumped in. On the other side, lipids, and they are forced together with around 400 pounds of pressure. Out comes a lipid nanoparticle, which McDermott says is the perfect package to deliver mRNA to your cells. That's the vaccine.
When you start to really scale it up like that, how confident were you that it was going to work? Actually, the first time somebody showed me this impingement jet mixer, I said, you can't be serious. How could you put billions of doses through here? So my confidence level was actually quite low. Not that it could be done. I knew it worked at this scale, but how could you multiply it?
Not only did McDermott crack that code and is now on his way to producing billions of doses for the world, his life has now come full circle.
Because as a kid, my dad worked for NASA. He was lucky enough to be in mission control in Houston when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, right? That amazing moment. And the day we shipped the first doses out of this site, it rushed over me like that was our moonshot.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
And as more people gain access to the vaccine, we're updating our vaccine dashboard at kpbs.org. We have the latest information on locations and data from the county's daily reports. To get there, just go to kpbs.org and click on the vaccines link at the top of the page. That's all for this special edition of KPBS News. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and for all of us here at KPBS, thanks for joining us.